Hello, it's the first day of 2024 and it's time to look back on the best and worst films of 2023. First of all, you're wondering, why am I in the toilet? Well, for those of you that have been following my channel for quite a while, I used to do all my reviews in the toilet. Yes, in the can. But of course now I've graduated to my car, huge graduation. And today I thought, well, seeing as my first review of 2024 and outlining the best and worst films according to me for the year 2023, I thought, why not do it on the toilet and crown people in the right way? That's right. The loser or the worst film of 2023 will receive a scrunchy toilet paper, not a fold, a scrunch, and a double flush. And for the winner of the best film of 2023, they'll get awarded this beautiful crochet toilet roll, which is just so special, better than an Academy Award. Anyway, let's outline first of all the worst films of 2023 according to me. At number 10, one of the most uncomfortable experiences I had in the cinema this year, Infinity Pool, the Brandon Cronenberg film, which not only did I invite a couple of friends along to, but also took my daughter. And well, if you like full-on nudity, grotesque body horror, then that would be the film that you'd take a lot of people to go and see. It's certainly not a family flick. Mia Goth was really great in that film, and look, it was just an uncomfortable experience. So it's probably more so on me than maybe on the filmmaker. But still, Infinity Pool was not on the top of my best of list this year. Number 9, more of a disappointment than a worst film, but I suppose a disappointment can be just as much as a bad motion picture. And it really was. Silent Night, the new film by director John Woo. He hadn't made an American motion picture for quite a number of years, and this was his re-entry back into mainstream. And what a shame. There were some great action sequences, but the only problem is, for this entire movie, no one talks. Could be a great concept, it's worked for things like The Artist and so on and so forth, but the problem is that it felt like everyone was busting out to say something in this movie, and no one got a chance to, because the concept would not allow it. And it didn't really need to be there. Your main character can not talk because he's got a problem with his throat as part of what happens in the film, but it doesn't mean everyone else can't talk. So that's the biggest problem I had. So John Woo, boo-hoo, John Woo. 8, 7, and 6, yes, I can count, of my next list is just films that were a waste of money. Yes, huge budgets with very little return. Lots of money, but no sense. And one of those films was, unfortunately, The Marvels. Yes, the brand new film which had Captain Marvel back and introduced Miss Marvel on television and Monica Rambeau, who was also from television, back up onto the big screen. So this team up of 3 people wasn't really earned. It wasn't something that we were all wanting, it wasn't something that worked, and it wasn't something certainly that was going to get any traction for the MCU. A very dodgy storyline. I don't know what was going on with Nick Fury, but if we're trying to look at cohesiveness within the MCU, we certainly didn't find it between this version of Nick Fury to what we'd just seen in Secret Invasion on television. So massive problems there. Plus, Miss Marvel is great, but she's yet to, a lot of people didn't know who she was. So the big problem there was that it just was a team up that no one was expecting, no one knew they wanted, and certainly no one really wanted if you look at the box office and the terrible, terrible script. Number 7, another massive waste of money. Thanks, Marvel, you must have so much to burn. And that film was once again a film that no one really felt was earned on such a massive scale. That being Ant-Man Quantumania. That's right, the little man in the MCU getting a massive film and a huge weight on his shoulders, trying to introduce the big brand new bad guy, Kang, into the MCU, which, let's face it, it's now not going to happen after all the problems going on with the main actor of that film, or that character. And just a really incohesive storyline, and things that terrible CG. And when your film is pretty much all CG, that's a pretty big problem. That's what I think anyway. So as much as I love Paul Rudd, as much as I was a fan of Ant-Man, certainly not Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's really low tier Marvel, and it's shot too hard, too fast, too high, too bad. Ah yes, more wastes of money. And why do we keep wasting money seeing these films? I'm not sure, but Fast X. Oh, I'm sure it's not just Fast with a big red cross next to it that's like, you shouldn't watch this film, because I'm pretty sure that's what it should have been. Yes, Vin Diesel now looking more like a walnut every single entry into the franchise. Once again does some incredible things with cars that should not exist in any world. And just an absolutely horrendous storyline and a waste of Jason Momoa. Let's be honest, he was probably the best thing in this film, and I probably would just want to watch the film with him in it and just forget everyone else. And an absolutely throwaway cameo from Gal Gadot. Yes, I'm going to spoil it because I don't think you should see it. She's in it for about 5 seconds. Fast X, please make it stop. Number 4 on this list, a film that should have been a lot better than it actually was, even though no one really knew what they were expecting, was Dracula, Voyage of the Demeter. Now, I think that's the title. It was retitled about 5 different times, and in my review, I'm pretty sure I got it wrong. But one thing I didn't get wrong was the fact that this was just a boring Dracula film. That's a lot. You can't have a boring Dracula film. Oh, yes, you can. This one. When Dracula came out, he looked scary, but the bloodletting was minimal, the characterization was terrible, and the film just could have been a lot better given the source material and really what was set out by Bram Stoker. This should have been absolute, nailed-on classic. Instead, it was a forgettable waste of time. Looks like it was shot entirely in a studio. I think the person who greenlit this probably should have been shot in the studio. Number 3 on my list comes with a little bit of a trick. The original director of The Exorcist, William Friedkin, when he found out that David Gordon Green, the man that had slowly pummeled the Halloween franchise into the ground and also made films such as Pineapple Express, said that he was going to get a hold of the Exorcist series, William Friedkin said, "I'd sooner die than see this man helm an Exorcist film and destroy my legacy." Well, unfortunately, he may have jinxed himself, because not long after that, William Friedkin did unfortunately pass away, and David Gordon Green did get his Exorcist film. And by God, wasn't it horrible? The Exorcist Believer is my number 3 on the list. A film that starts out quite interesting with a missing persons case, but as soon as Ellen Burstyn, who was clearly there for the paycheck, gets involved, not only is her legacy destroyed, but also this film. What a disgraceful end. Number 2 on this list can only be described as a vanity project, whilst also tarnishing all that came before it. Magic Mike's Last Dance, a film that Channing Tatum clearly got roped into, and Salma Hayek said, "I want to be sexy on the screen and get a lap dance from Channing Tatum. So please, 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 my producer husband, can you please make that happen?" And she got her wish, and we got the wish that we wish we'd never seen it, because Magic Mike's Last Dance is a horrendous way to finish up this series of films that were really not so much about men stripping, but more about the story behind the men, the interesting stories behind it, what motivates them, and, you know, interesting human stories. Not this complete just bastardization of something that was set out so well by Steven Soderbergh in the original film and then carried across to the sequel, which wasn't as good, but this just rams it right down into the ground and makes it my second worst film of 2023. And number one, a film that I took the afternoon out of my life to go and see. This film is called Mafia Mama. It stars Toni Collette, and she was also a producer behind it, and it is an absolute load of trash. It is a film that degrades every male on the screen. Every male is written as a misogynistic pig, no matter if they're good or bad, a goodie or a baddie, all misogynistic, all pigs, and trying to give female empowerment to a character who is just really quite nasty and horrible and incompetent. And so it really does the opposite of what the film was trying to do. Films like Barbie, which really succeeded this year, this film failed hugely. Not funny, grotesque, terrible characters, bad direction, horrible storytelling, and just a waste of time. So Mafia Mama gets my number one pick for the worst film of 2023. And they also get, that's right, the scrunchy toilet paper. Mafia Mama, this is you, and you get the double flush. Oh, you're so lucky. Ooh, I think I might have just wet my bum. Okay, now we got all that rubbish out of the way, let's get on to the decent stuff that came out in 2023. And to be honest, there was a lot more good than there was bad. I didn't get to see everything this year, which is a shame, you know, life. But the things that I did see that are on this list, I highly recommend. So, on to the best top 10 films according to me for 2023. At my number 10, a film that I only saw a week ago, but is still resonating with me now, Poor Things, the brand new film from Yorgos Lanthimos. Of course, this is the guy who directed Lobster that I absolutely hated, but this film, it just all worked. The weird music, the weird direction, the weird cinematography, the amazing production design, and the phenomenal performances from both all of the actors actually. So Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and of course Mark Ruffalo giving an amazing performance in this film. It is a great cast of people involved here. Emma Stone surely is going to be up for an Oscar nom for this one. Well, she is for a Golden Globe anyway, and Mark Ruffalo should definitely carry out the Best Supporting Actor because he is an absolute hoot. So thank you, Yorgos, for giving me a film that I could probably respect. Number 9 is a film that a lot of people have probably got on their worst films for 2023, but for me, when you've got a film that holds so much of a legacy, how can you poo-poo it? That film is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I went and saw this in Tasmania with a whole group of friends. I was really excited to go and see it, and the film lived up to what I hoped it would be. Yes, there's a lot of CG poop fest, and yes, Harrison Ford is looking older, and yes, the character of Indiana Jones was a bit of a grumpy old man, but to be honest, it's true probably in regards to where he has come from to where he is now. Was then, I should say, or is in this film. And yes, I just got caught up in the nostalgia of it all. I'm a massive Indiana Jones fan, and to see Harrison Ford carrying the legacy all the way through to the end, this was a much better send-off than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, even though that film had some inspired action sequences that are probably slightly better than some of the ones in this film. I still feel like this was a much better send-off for the character. So thank you, James Mangold. Thank you, Harrison Ford, for seeing this character through to the end. And thank you for once again giving us Indiana Jones up on the big screen. Blessed. Woohoo! Number 8, one of the best times I had in the cinema for a film that I knew nothing about. This film was called Sisu. This is a German World War II film about a gold prospector who finds a lot of gold and then spends the rest of the film trying to beat off Nazis who are trying to steal it off him. This is like a one-man vendetta film set in World War II with an old cranky prospector, and it is so much fun. I had an absolute blast with Sisu. So if you get a chance, do catch up with it. It is absolutely full-on violence, but it is almost comic violence to the point of being Looney Tunes. So that's kind of what I went away with. That's what I enjoyed. Sisu is my number 8 film. Woohoo! At number 7, a film that got really caught up in the whole Barbenheimer thing, and people probably poo-pooed it for a number of different reasons, and I think somehow the title also didn't help. And that film was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. As soon as you put a Part 1 in front of a film, people probably feel like they might be getting a little bit cheated by what's going to be coming ahead, because it's not going to be a full film. But what I can say is that this film was full on action entertainment from woe to go. So how you can even ask for more out of this film, I don't know. Has amazing stunts, of course, that huge one off the cliff, the amazing train sequence at the very end, the sequences through Rome, Hayley Atwell and Tom Cruise working together, amazing synergy. And yes, there was a few things with a few other key characters that might have put people offside, but overall, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, bring on Part 2, as long as they don't say the entity 27 million times. Thank you very much. Woohoo! Number 6 on my list is a film I only saw a couple of weeks ago as well, but snuck into number 6 slot, and no one's more as surprised as I am, and that is Godzilla -1. I'm not even a Godzilla fan. I had no knowledge or thoughts about this film even existing, and it just popped up there, and I was like, well, I think I better go and see this film. It sounds interesting, and my God, what a great monster film. This film succeeds on so many levels that Marvel couldn't this year, and really need to have a good hard look at why this film is so good. And the reason why is this: it's simple, effective, fun, energizing, great characters, really well shot, and just a really great use of a bad guy. We're not trying to make Godzilla good. We're not trying to give him a human arc. He is a monster that needs to be stopped, with people who have experienced his wrath and also reflecting the times. So this is a great monster film and highly enjoyable, and once again shows us that the 1-inch barrier that once was subtitles no longer exists within cinema. So thank you, Godzilla -1, for being an awesome film, and it is my number 6. Woohoo! Number 5 on my list is a little bit of a sneaky one. It's Barbenheimer. I can't separate these two films because I saw them one after the other, and really the hype of what Barbenheimer did to the cinemas at that time was quite phenomenal. It's something we haven't seen since the days of Star Wars, or, you know, the days of Indiana Jones, where we have these, or even Avengers Endgame, you know, that huge cinematic event where people get dressed up, they tell their friends, they have parties in order to go and see a motion picture or a series of films. And they couldn't have been two polar opposite movies. If you'd said at this stage of the game that I'd be saying that my number 5 film was a film about a product placement of a toy, a female toy, and then also a film about people sitting in rooms talking, I'd be going, you're absolutely nuts. But somehow the genius of both Greta Gerwig and of Christopher Nolan, having those two films, two polar opposite films, but doing something very special for cinema, really was an event. So the cinematic event for the year, and my number 5 for the year, is Barbie and Oppenheimer. Woohoo! Number 4 for the year is a film that, quite honestly, I had no intention of seeing. I thought this is going to be subpar. If I still had a DVD, it would go straight to DVD. And I thought this is just going to be a bit average. Box office takings were looking not too good. It came out at a weird time of year. So I went into the cinema expecting the worst and came out with my number 4 film of the year, that being Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I have never been more entertained by a film series since, I don't know, this kind of to me felt like what Indiana Jones used to be, or kind of like the early Marvel sort of stuff. Like a real good, fun, family, time out at the movies with dragons. And great characters. Chris Pine is absolutely hilarious. Michelle Rodriguez, I don't think has ever been better. And for me, this is Bradley Cooper's best role for the year. A tiny little cameo, and it is inspired. I love the action sequences. I love this film. I don't understand the lore at all, but one thing I do understand is that Hugh Grant is in this film and he is on a roll. Keep doing what you're doing, Hugh Grant, because you are doing a great job at it. Woohoo! Number 3 on my list this year is a film that is an Australian horror film. Directed and produced and created by 2 people that are YouTubers, with a completely unknown cast, and released very much under the radar. And yet it became one of the biggest hits of 2023. That film was Talk to Me. I got a chance to have a chat to one of the stars of Talk to Me and talk about the simplicity of it, but the intricacies of the story and what is being put ahead moving forward. The Raka Raka Boys did a phenomenal job with this possession film that just felt real. That was the thing about it. It felt like a real story. It felt like, we're dealing with characters that would truly say things that they say, would truly do things that they would do. So it's very relevant in regards to the time. It is tense, it is funny, it is horrifying, and best of all, it is just bloody great. So if you haven't seen Talk to Me, you definitely need to see it. And it is my number 3 film of 2023. Woohoo! The number 2 film that I loved this year, I saw in the cinemas. And I saw it at a very special screening with the director of the film, as well as one of the producers. This review got a massive amount of hits for my channel, and I know why, because I was extremely passionate about the subject matter that was being shown to me on the screen. And that film was John Farnham, Finding the Voice. This film had a massive, massive impact on me. It was an amazing documentary directed by someone that wasn't a John Farnham fan, that had no skin in the game, and just found a really interesting story behind an idol of Australia. So for me, that resonated even more, that they found the human element rather than the celebrity element. And with everything going on with John Farnham at the time, it really also made it more relevant and had more of an emotional impact on me. So the story was phenomenal, the legend is phenomenal, and the archive footage and things that occurred during the production were quite extraordinary. So for me, my number 2 pick for the year is John Farnham, Finding the Voice. And the number 1 film for me for 2023 is, drumroll, toilet roll, is, oh, that was a terrible dad joke, is Celine Sung's directorial debut, Past Lives. This film is quite a simple story of 2 people who were childhood sweethearts coming back, reconnecting again after many years apart, and working out whether or not their connection is still there, whether or not it will always be there, and how things will move into the future. This film is resonant on so many levels, and the interesting thing is I went and took my daughter along with me for this one, and she found as much emotion and pathos in it as I did. So it's a film that really stretches across generations and obviously has some phenomenal beats in it. The performances are amazing. The soundtrack is amazing. The way that the story is told in quiet moments is something to behold. That's down to amazing direction, fantastic acting, and a really telling, just a great environment. So for me, Celine Song's directorial debut of Past Lives is my #1 film of 2023, and it is not a blockbuster. It's just a quiet, unassuming, beautiful motion picture. So we don't need noise to make things great. That's the answer. And of course, Celine Song, congratulations. Not only will I'm sure you'll get some Oscar nominations, but you get something even better this year, a crochet toilet roll holder. That's right. You can put your toilet roll under and just love it. It's beautiful. Anyway, that's my films for 2023. Thank you everyone who has followed my channel for the first year of the Flikfreak up on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram as well. And stay tuned for more reviews into 2024. I'm also like to thank Dendy Southport and Cooperoo for supporting me in this little venture, which gives joy and resonance to those who will like watching films and hear me beat on about them for ages. Anyway, have a great 2024. Stay tuned for more reviews, and thanks for clicking on this video. Catch you next time.